Hey guys, so for those of you that don't know, we just finished the Moon Men server Discord tournament, and it was an absolute blast. I want to thank everyone that played and watched. We had nothing but smiles and friendship the whole time, and we got a nice insight into some of the meta decks that we have options to. So I'm taking the top 4 decks, we're going to give you a rundown of the lists, why a few of the cards were teched, and you're going to be able to see what is hot right now. Let's get into it. All right, so here we are. Congratulations to Schwiggity Schwa, whose list is being shown for coming in 4th place. We're going to do a quick rundown of 4th place, move on to 3rd. So, this was a mono green kid leader. Very awesome Supernova tribal deck. Let's dive right into it. So, for beige, the decks that can run 1-drop blockers should. That's really all there is to it. There's not much to talk about. Bonnie and Momo both, but obviously for a Supernova deck, Bonnie is like the backbone of these decks. I mean, they give you so much card advantage, so much draw, and then they either absorb attacks and removal or just linger and get you more advantage, more draw. The fact that she can grab herself off her own effect is really good. So obviously for Bonnie in any mono green deck that is kid leader makes a ton of sense. For the set 1 killer, that's the 2-drop blocker that when you block with it, you draw. So that's a really good card. Stopping an attack and getting a draw out of it is absolutely excellent. It does not surprise me at all to see this as a 4-up. For Apu, so Apu I feel is in here less for its effect, although its effect can come up every once in a while. And it's more about choosing what 2K counters you want to run. And the reason that Apu is good is because you can grab it off Jewelry Bonnie since it's a Supernova. It's the only 2K counter that is targetable by Jewelry Bonnie, at least in this deck, probably at all. So at least in this color, I should say, but I believe at all altogether. So that's really nice, and I can understand running 4 of it. That way you can see it. 3 Cat Viper, so easy way to rest down your opponent's cheap blockers. There's a ton of cheap blockers. Everyone's running these 1-drop beiges. It can also rest down Sentomaru. It can also rest down Jewelry Bonnie or Momo. It hits a lot of really solid targets. Hits Rhizos, Okikus, all these things that you need to make sure are getting rested. We've got 2 Shachi, 2 Penguin. So I actually was able to talk to Schwiggity a little bit about the reasons for running 2 of each. And I was saying that originally I was thinking of upping each to 4, or cutting them all together. And the reason we ended up landing on them being fine at 2-2 is because even when you're not seeing them for their combo, you need to make sure when you're playing this 8-drop kid, you have another blocker to play off his rest ability. Otherwise, he's basically useless to be playing. So adding in these extra filler blockers, even though they're not going to be triggering off of each other and getting you that type of value, is really just to help protect this 8-drop kid. We're seeing 3 of the starter deck killer because removal is absolutely wonderful. I mean, it makes complete sense. Only 3 Rhizo, which is an interesting choice. I guess he felt like it was clunking up enough, not doing enough for him. It surprises me because the draw and the pressure is a lot into a deck, but 3 Rhizo it is. 4 Izo, 2K counter, and can rest something that costs 4 or less. This card's absolutely amazing. Any green deck should realistically be running 4 of it. For Law, this is still arguably one of the best green cards, if not the best green card in the game. Absolutely phenomenal card, enables a ton of plays. It can protect your Bonnie, it can protect your Rhizo. It can flicker your killer so that you get more removal off. A lot of things this Law can do. 1 Yamato, I guess the Yamato is in here more out of spice. Like if you see it and you have the chance to use it for pressure, go ahead. But not really relying on its ability to connect, not expecting it to connect. So the 1-of, because it's too good of a card not to run in his eyes, I suppose. But it's not really something you're trying to see, especially not see multiples of. 3 X-Drake because removal is amazing, and this hits a lot of great targets. This hits your boas, you know, I mean, just so many. There are a lot of things that cost 4 nowadays in blue, like especially if you're considering your Dolphy matchup. So X-Drake is a really valuable card to run. And 2 of this 8-drop kid. 2 feels a little low to me, but you can grab it off Jewelry Bonnie, so it doesn't surprise me all that much. And this card is absolutely amazing. It's the reason that green decks are really as viable as they are. They would still be good without this 8-drop kid, but Kid has definitely helped push them over the edge. So in the event lineup, we're seeing 4 Paradise Waterfall. This card is absolutely wonderful, especially when you're running a big blocker like this Law. Block with Law, use Paradise, untap, block again, stopping potentially up to 3 attacks at once, just from this 1 card and the blocker. Even outside of that, stop an attack and protect a Bonnie, stop an attack and protect a Yamato, stop an attack, protect a Rhizo, etc., etc., etc. Paradise Waterfall is definitely one of the better green cards. 2 Punk Gibson because it's some of the best counter you can use. Stop an attack and rest a blocker. Stop 2 attacks. It got a very powerful trigger. Punk Gibson's absolutely a wonderful card. And the one of Demon Face. Now, this is really spicy, but he likes this card a lot. So his logic is worst case scenario, you ditch it for leader effect and get 2 attacks off. It's also a grabbable off Bonnie, and there are a lot of matchups that this Demon Face can really come in handy. So I really like his decision to 2-1 Demon Face. So yeah, this is Schwiggety's second place list. Excuse me, this is Schwiggety's 4th place list. Let's move on to the 3rd place list, which is another mono green kid. So we don't have to dive too in depth here because, you know, a lot of the choices are very similar, but we can talk about a few different keynotes. Only 3 killer. A lot of people are opting out to 3 killer because you don't want to use blockers early against hybrid Kaido, which is a big threat. So they're trying to get more proactive stuff done and use killers kind of as a late game option to help stall out the game as opposed to the early game. Upping Shachi and Penguin to 4 makes complete sense, and same with upping Raizo. Only 2 killer and 2 extra ink instead of 3 in each, but that's kind of okay. This deck chooses to, on top of the Izo and Apu, run also Beppo. Now, when you're playing for Shachi, for Penguin, it makes sense because you can get a lot of stupid combos off with those. But realistically, I feel this card is in here mostly because counter plus 2,000. It's extra counter plus 2,000 options. 3 Kid makes tons of sense. 2 Yamato makes tons of sense. 3 Law is bold, but the deck doesn't have as many on-play combos as it used to, so I can really understand, especially since it can dead draw your hand up if you're seeing a bunch of them, they don't have a counter stat. 2 Paradise Waterfall, 1 Punk Gibson, so this deck is way lighter on events. What's really interesting is the one of you can become my samurai. It's very spicy one of. I don't know how I feel about it in this deck. It doesn't feel like you consistently have cards you want to rest on your board. They're just chilling. At the same time, if you've played a killer and an Izo, and neither one is really going to be able to do you much, this one of Samurai could draw you 2 cards. So it's definitely an interesting tech for a mono green deck. I don't know how crazy I am about it, but did him pretty well. So there's that. Good for you, Rushy. Rushy was the 3rd place finisher. Moving on to 2nd place, we got Gray. Gray did absolutely phenomenally with a hybrid Kaido leader. This is actually very similar to my own list. Few choice differences, but we're going to go over each card one by one. Law, 4 of it, 1 drop blockers, very obvious. 4 Who's Who, some of the best removal in the game, especially right now. It also triggers with your leader so that you can get your ramp off. 4 Sentomaru, because Sentomaru is an amazing tempo play. It's one of the things that makes Blue-Purple Kaido so very, very efficient. So definitely 4 Sentomaru, one of the better plays you can make. 4 ulti and 4 the set 1 page 1. We're just going to skip to this down here. So ulti's a 2k counter. So before we were running Alvida or Sasuke or other 2k counters that we basically almost never used. Now with this page 1, where the ulti page 1 combo is really nice. Page 1 gives you a lot of options, killing things that would otherwise be unkillable. Swinging into Boa so the Boa can't block. Swinging into Sentomaru that never got to swing off. And yes, you have to Dawn -1 to use it, but you're likely getting that Dawn right back for your Kaido effect. So a very nifty little combo. 4 Mihawk because it can fix your hand when you need it to, but it also is a 2k counter. That's really sweet. 4 Gecko Moria because it's a 4k 5 drop, it's a 4 drop 5k beater, which is absolutely phenomenal. On play, it can also grab you your Mihawk so it can get you a 2k counter back, or your Law so it can get you a 1 drop blocker. So it's a +1, gets you back great defensive pieces, is awesome offensively. The Pacifista line is actually really interesting here. It's 4 of the 6k vanilla Pacifista, which is obvious. Then 2 blocker Pacifista. So this guy runs 6 Pacifistas. And this blocker Pacifista really came in handy against the Kid matchup. They pulled out blocker Pacifista because the Kid was basically just putting all of their Dawn on a Kid and attacking twice every single turn. So the ability to get this blocker out of your deck, help ease a little bit of that pressure, definitely won them that matchup. It helped so much. Only 2 King. This is the thing. They cut 2 King for 2 of this Pacifista. I felt like there were times that I was watching and I definitely thought a King would have helped, but the Pacifista definitely helped them. It basically won them to match against a Kid deck, and Kid both was in my event and is just in general a very prominent deck, so answers to it make a lot of sense. 2 King, didn't see it get played all tournament, but still a very efficient card. I'm sure they played it at some point, but none of the games I watched had it. And then 2 of each Kaido, because both Kaidos are very good in their own right. This one is better against control decks and late game decks. This one is better, more universally good. So yeah, this is a lot of your clunk engine, and that's a lot of the problem people have with Blue Purple Kaido, but served Gray very well. 4 Blast Breath, 2 Level Up Beam, you get access to literally, in my opinion, the 2 best counters in the game. So this is what I do, because Level Up Beam has a higher potential of bricking than Blast Breath, and it serves you very well having these 2 4K counters. And lastly, first place, congrats to Skirian for coming in first with Hybrid Law, shattering all my expectations. Let's talk about this list real quick. So, for Nami, easy red card to bounce for your green targets, also gives you more stats throughout the game. This is an aggro combo list, so those stats really matter. For Otama, this is a Wano Country red card, so it's grabbable off Momo if you need those 1-drops. Its effect also does come into a little bit of handy, and it's a 2K counter, so an all-around very well-rounded card for this deck. For Beige, because it's a supernova, so you can grab it off of Bonnie, and 1-drop blockers are very powerful. For Bonnie, for Momo, keep the deck consistent. He focused on a Supernova and Wano Country engine as opposed to a Supernova and Straw Hat engine. Only 3 killer. He said that he ran this at 3 because he was worried about the blue-purple matchup and he didn't want to be playing blockers early. He'd rather be building board with 1-drops than playing 2-drops that are destined to die. But then towards the later stages of the game, this card really helps out. So that's why he only ran 3. He didn't want to see a bunch of it. For Gordon, it's another red target. It can help you fix your hand. It also has counter plus 2,000, so this card helped him a lot today. 2, Raizo. This is a really interesting choice. It can be grabbed off of Momo, can be played off of Law. Hard casting it is really usually not that great. However, what he said is this is primarily in here for the mono green kid matchup, because that deck goes so slow, stalls so much. Using your Raizo to help you with those grindier kid matchups can really help, and it did actually win him a game today. So 2 Raizo, clearly working for him. For Zoro, this card is one of the backbones of the deck. It's how you get a lot of your aggro off. 3 Izo, tapping down your opponent's blockers is very efficient. It also helps you remove key pieces if you need to. Counter plus 2,000 is also a really important factor to this card. 3 Rush Luffy. This is not only one of his biggest game enders for being unable to be blocked, but it also is how he answers 8-drop Kid. So if your opponent is playing an 8-drop Kid and then plays a bunch of blockers, you play Rush Luffy, you attach everything to it, you swing into it, you swing into the Kid, it's likely going away. And that's one of the reasons that Red specifically has the best ways to answer best ways to answer 8-drop Kid, is these cards that become unblockable via Diablo Jambe, or in this case just Luffy's effect, are really helpful. It is also worth noting that Zoro and Luffy are both supernovas, so they can both be grabbed off of Bonnie, and they can both be untapped off of this starter deck Law. So a very common win condition we'd see, opponent would have a bunch of blockers on board, put a bunch of Dawn onto Luffy, swing, you can't block it, pay 2 to play this Law, untap the Luffy, swing again, you can't block it. It was a very nice, nifty little combo we got going on there. Definitely put out a lot of pressure. 3 of this 5-drop Law. This is the normal 5-drop Law of the deck. It gets you back your Bonnies and Momos to keep them safe, your Otama and Gordon so you can re-get on plays, get those 2Ks to hand. It plays your Rush Zoro, or it flickers your Rush Zoro for an extra attack. It plays your Izo, or it bounces your Izo for those 2Ks, those on plays. It gives you a lot of combos and a lot of options. And then he ran 2 Yamato. Yamato actually did win him a game. He connected with a Yamato once today. So that's really good. Basically, this card applies a ton of pressure. If it connects, you're extremely likely to win. Even if it doesn't, you're forcing your opponent to play around this card, which is very powerful. The event lineup, 2, You Can Be My Samurai. I think 2 is a great number for this card. I saw him do things like play 2 Otama just to build the board for 5, and then use You Can Be My Samurai, help you refresh that hand. And then the Otamas lived because there were so many things to get rid of, so many things to swing into. It really didn't matter that those 2 dead cards were tapped. So this card at 2, also it's a target for Momo, which is really nice. It definitely helped him out a lot. And then 2 Paradise Waterfall. This is the only counter he chooses to run. He only runs it at 2, and it's really for those games where you need Law as a blocker, and same concept, you can block with Law, untap it, block again, stopping up to 3 attacks, if not at least 2. It can be an extremely powerful piece to be used defensively. So that was the 4 topping list. I was very impressed to see what came out of the top. A lot of people were expecting a lot of Kid. A lot of people were expecting Hybrid Kaido to do very well. Both of those did very well. Law is a very good deck. I'm not necessarily surprised it performed as well as it did. But I definitely, if you had asked me to guess what came in first, it wouldn't have been Hybrid Law. So a lot of variety, some very, very skilled players today. You can check the bot out on my Twitch. There'll be a link in the description. We saw a lot of good stuff happening today. There will be another Moonmen server tournament coming up soon. Stay focused. There will be a link to our server where we run the tournaments in the description below so that you can join up and be a part of the next one. And I can't wait to see you guys next time. Today's video was sponsored by Top Deck TCG. This is an awesome website where not only can you buy singles for some of your favorite trading card games, but it acts as a hub for various content creators so you can stay up to date in those games. This is their homepage. As you can see, they currently carry Flesh and Blood, Digimon, Transformers, and Star Wars Destiny. They are going to be carrying One Piece in the winter when its official American release comes out. If you go over to game videos and podcasts, you can see some of your favorite content creators, including your favorite One Piece content creators, for all of these various games so that you can stay up to date on what is good right now. It's all very easy to use, and the guy is great. And if you use your promo code TheMoonmen, not case sensitive at all, you'll get 10% off any order you place. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. I certainly hope you did. You can find links to my Twitch and my Patreon in the description, as well as the promo code and the links to Top Deck TCG. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.